Welcome to the Jen Cares Powered by Chosen Live podcast, a podcast that brings the community to you. Each week, we feature a guest that will help us stay in the know. We are here every Monday at 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, comment, and share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, here's your host, Jen Cares.
Well, good evening and welcome to Jen Cares powered by Chosen Counselors. I am your host, Jen Cares, the founder of Chosen Counselors, a nonprofit organization that seeks to inspire, motivate, empower, and strengthen individuals and families. As always, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in, for liking, for commenting, and sharing, and all that jazz. And I don't normally harp on like the commenting and liking and sharing things, but friends, I challenge you tonight. When you find something that hits home for you, be sure to share this so that somebody else can be encouraged and that they can join in on the conversation and get some of that good encouragement as well, okay? I want to say special thanks to Sharice House who joined us last week. It was such a good time, and if you missed it, be sure to go and catch that rewind or the full episode on our Facebook channel or on our YouTube channel. Friends, we have to tend to our garden, okay? We have to tend to our minds and our lives just to make sure that we are growing and developing as we should. If it's helping us, we want to keep it going. But if it's not helping us, we have to cut it, period, okay? It's not a bad thing to cut. And the other month, when we had Nate, who's also a stylist, he was sharing how you don't really need a trim on every visit. And I was thinking about that today. And I want us to be careful that we're not cutting something too soon. Be sure not to cut something before it's time. Allow people to grow, allow things to grow, allow places to grow as they allow you to grow, okay? Be patient, be kind, be thankful, grateful, and blessed, but cut things as they need to be cut. Such a good time. I do also want to just throw a plug in and say thank you to the amazing Robin Maddox, who had me again as a panelist for her She Shines conference. I got to speak on It's About Time. We talk with our It's about time we talk to our young women. Let's listen. And we talked about the barriers between parents being able to talk to their children and the older saints and older wiser women were able to just listen and hear what the younger people had to say. And I'm so excited for that opportunity. Going to also do like another piece on that because it was a real blessing to those that attended and heard. So be sure to check it out. When I post it, I'll be sure to share it and all that jazz. Nevertheless, let's get into tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about Soar, period. This month's theme was grateful, period, thankful, period, blessed, period. And last week we talked about that cut it, but guess what? After we cut some things, we also need to soar in some areas. We cannot give up on ourselves. So I'm so excited. Hey, Jeannie, my God, sister, bless her heart. She was like, I kind of missed it. Then I fell asleep. I'm glad to have you here tonight, Jeannie. Thank you for tuning in. But it's going to be good. Tonight, we are going to soar. We are going to soar. Hey, Belinda, thank you for tuning in. Belinda and Jeannie, y'all make sure that y'all soar. Take your notepads. I'll be having my notepad and my pencil because I want to take the notes and what it is we're going to get on tonight. It's going to be good. So help me welcome the amazing Lynelle Watkins as we talk about Soar. Woo!
Oh, thank you.
Good evening. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm excited. When we go live on Mondays with Jen Care, she gets excited about what we're going to be able to share, how I'm going to be encouraged, and how we're going to encourage somebody else.
I'm excited as well. Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime, I'm going to talk about this later, but I'm going to talk about this now too. I'm grateful because one of our listeners actually shared about what it is that you do and about your book and things. I said, we're always looking for new people. So friends tuning in, I will talk about that later. If you know somebody that should be a guest, bring them on over because we about to get some good nuggets tonight, okay? So over here at Jen Cares, we always start with a quote of the day. Today's quote of the day is, jump, and you will find out how to unfold your wings as you fall. That's by Ray Bradbury. Again, jump, and you will find out how to unfold your wings as you fall. What are your thoughts on that quote?
I love that quote, actually. Of course, the name of my coaching services is Soar.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think about that, a lot of times we are the actual victory is just in the leap.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we think it's, when we land, but it's actually just taking the leap, getting past the fear of leaping and soaring and jumping. So I actually love that quote because as long as once we take the leap, I think over half the battle has been won.
Over half the battle is
Over
won.
half the battle has been won. I mean, now it's just figuring out where we go once we land. But so many times we get stuck in the
Mm,
nest,
mm,
and we don't want to fly.
yeah.
So yeah, I love that quote.
Stuck in the nest. We're going to talk about that. Friends, I have prepared some questions, but as always, if you have any questions or thoughts, be sure to drop them below and we will bring them up to talk about it. Let's talk about this stuckness though. What causes somebody to be stuck? Because that jump, sometimes, as you get a little older, you get that snap, crackle, and popping, but in whatever age, it's still a
Mhm,
time where we should jump or leap and things of
mhm,
that sort. What
mhm.
do you think hinders us from going forth? What's that's stopping us with some of the things?
Well, one of the biggest things, of course, is fear. And fear can take on so many different identities. It can move about in so many different aspects of our lives, but really it all stems from fear. It stems from insecurities. It's the fear of if I do it, will I fail? It's the fear of failure. It's the fear of not being successful. It's the fear of not having the support. So it really does stem from fear, not knowing what the unknown and fear of the unknown. I think really that's kind of what keeps us stuck.
Mm,
Because most people, well, a lot of people, if they're like me, I need to know exactly what it's going to be before I leap. Well, I will say I used to be that way. I've grown over these last few years, but trust me, up until a few years ago, that was me all my life.
mhm,
Like, I was not taking a step until I had all of the steps.
mhm,
And,
mhm,
and God just didn't deal with me that way until He
mhm,
had to finally break me. Like, I'm not giving it all to you.
mm,
So you either just take these steps or you stay where you are. So I think it's just a lot of times people fear the unknown, not
mhm,
realizing you're not going to get it all. You're
mhm,
not going to see it all
mhm.
before you go. You
Yeah,
just
yeah.
have to know that you know what you know, you know?
Mm. I'm with you with that little research piece of knowing like where's it gonna go, what's the altitude of your fall season. But serious, you want to know those things, and sometimes you know just enough, um, like that a way will be made, but you don't know what that way will be, what it will look like, how it will feel, who's going to do it.
Yep.
But just being open to the possibility of whatever it could be. But then you said, "I'm not giving it all to you," and that is the one of the hardest pieces because it'd be like, why can't you gave me what you gave me was T, right? Of the
Mhm,
alphabet. But I
mhm.
gotta get through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all to get to T, and I don't know what is in
Yeah.
between. And I get frustrated because it's like, well, you said you was gonna do it. Is this it? Is this it? Is this it? And sometimes you get to like this where you feel like everything is it, and then it's not really it.
Yeah.
So in that jump, what's that process like of what was your faith cape or your trust cape to be able to say, all right, we're going to do this thing?
I think it was, but it really came down to just making the decision because honestly, if God really revealed to us the entire journey, we wouldn't take it. We wouldn't take it. And so we asked for it, but really, if He exposed to us what it was when we see the ups and downs and the things that we have to go through, we probably would not take it. And I think for me, I had to come to a point where I had to realize, I had to stop fearing, who won't, all the who won'ts and start focusing on the who wills, and what will work and instead of what won't work. um, and it was initially just really mind over matter, just really taking that leap of faith and stepping out. And then once I stepped out, that's when it all started to fall in place. But it didn't do that until I actually started to like really pursue it. I remember when I was looking to pursue my master's a few years ago, and I actually was contemplating doing that for quite some time, for like a decade, over a decade,
Mhm.
probably like 15, 16 years. So, and it was just, I was always the struggle, like, oh, I can't do it because of this. I can't do it because of this. And I remember it was during the pandemic, of course, when everything got silent for probably a lot of people. And I was just alone with my thoughts saying, okay, what are you doing?
Mm.
You know you're supposed to do this. You started it, because I had started it. I didn't finish it.
Mhm.
And it was just weighing on me. Like, you have to get this done. And I just thought of all the reasons why I couldn't get it done, especially money, because I didn't want any student loans. I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to pay for it out of pocket.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and so I just remember one day just kind of being alone with these thoughts. You need to do it, and everything like that. And I remember God just simply asking me one question: do you want it? And I was like, well, God, yeah, I want it. I mean, I think like, and it wasn't that he didn't know that I wanted it. It was just the confession of, okay, if you want something, then you go after what you want.
Mm.
It's no wavering back and forth. If you want something, you pursue it. And so when I actually said it out loud and made the confession, it's like the steps started coming to me. I think I owed a balance to my school. I had to call them and make some arrangements. We had to work that out and everything like that. But it was like, once I confessed that this is what I wanted, this is what I wanted to pursue, and really meant it and wasn't wavering in that decision, all of the steps started to fall in place.
Mm.
And provision after moments of provision after moments of provision just happened until I was finished and owed no one when it was done. So I just think it's like God just wants us to take that step.
Mm.
He's not going to give it all to us. He's
Mm.
gonna, like, you have to make a decision of whether or not you're going to trust me. So that's what it was. It was trusting that, once I took the step, God was going to do the rest. And it
Yeah.
sounds so cliche sometimes, but it's the truth. Uh,
Mhm.
it's the truth.
Mhm. This question of do you want it is so powerful because like it's almost like how bad do you want it too? Because if you really want whatever it is, then you're going to go ahead and take that leap. You're going to jump. You're going to do it, and either it works or it doesn't work. But at least you have no regrets knowing that you did try it. But then the other piece of if you want something, you pursue it. So again, you're really making up in your mind that you want it. That was good. If either you want it, you're gonna really work for it. If you want to, get a house, you're gonna work to make sure your credit is together. You're gonna work to save money and not go out all the time. You're gonna work to do those things. You want to pursue this education without loans, you're gonna do what you have to do to pay for it. So that's again you doing your part of it because it also doesn't come where like just because it's something that you're supposed to be doing doesn't mean that it comes easy. You still have to do a part.
Right. Right. And sometimes you just have to do it afraid, because the
Mm,
alternative is you'll constantly be left with the thoughts of what if, or
mm,
I need to. Like, you'll constantly, I need to do this, and you'll
yeah,
be miserable. You
yeah.
won't be able to sleep at night. I mean, these things will just nag at you, and it's like, it's better if you just do what you need to do to get it done,
Mm,
rather than sit and ruminate and constantly think about what I need to be getting done. Just start somewhere. And I think that becomes the biggest. I notice even in coaching, when we start talking about goals, a lot of times people just don't know where to start, and
mhm.
that's fine. Not knowing where to start, that's fine. Like, there, you can Google where to start,
Yes.
but the determination, or the process really begins when you just make up your mind to start.
Mhm.
And it's just the fear of starting. So if you start, things really will fall into place if you're determined, if you're dedicated to the process. But a lot of people just don't start, and
Mm.
not really. People think you have to start big. And
Yeah.
that's an issue as
Mhm.
well. You don't have to start big. You can start very small.
Mhm. Mhm.
Start afraid, start small, but the
Yeah.
biggest thing is just to start.
Yes.
You want to
Yes.
start somewhere.
I was talking to, and I think I shared it last week. I was talking to a friend. She wants to go into a business, and she's like, "It costs this much money to do these things." I was like, "Okay," but what happens is it's small pieces for the bigger thing.
Mhm.
So if you start off small by picking up the pieces that you need, before you know, you have everything. You're like, "Oh, that didn't even hurt my pocket so bad," because you did it as you could. And sometimes people feel like, "No, I gotta have the money up front to get it all at one time."
Mhm.
One, how the mailman is set up. sometimes there's a delay and it's coming and all that other jazz. So you're still not gonna have it all together. But if you do take that moment of doing a little bit at a time, and sometimes we miss that part, and that's so important to hear. And a lot of the things that you are sharing, it's stuff that we possibly already heard, but sometimes we gotta hear it again to know
Absolutely.
that we're in the right vein of what it is that we're doing.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. We have
So
to be reminded sometimes. We forget.
yes.
Yes.
So friends, tune into this reminder. And sometimes for some of us, it's a whole, no, this is my first time hearing it. I'm here for you too. Whatever it is that you want to do, a little bit at a time. So, what is it that you do? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Let me get to my introduction. I do have manners, where we find out who our guest is and things of that sort. But in your intro, you did so many great things. I said, wait a minute, we got to stay there a second. But tell us a little bit about who you are.
Sure. Well, I was born and raised in Philadelphia. So I am originally from Philadelphia.
Mhm,
Um, I'm a Christian. I love the
mhm,
Lord. I've been in church basically all my life. I got saved when I was 9, so I've been serving really all of my life.
mhm.
I love to sing. I love to serve. I love to shop. I love to spend time with my family, all the S's.
Yeah, yeah.
And some other things. I love some other things. I have in on the professional educational side, I have a bachelor's in psychology, a master's in human services counseling with a focus in family, marriage and family counseling.
Mhm.
And I am enrolled in a doctoral program, pursuing a doctorate in education and community care counseling, also with a concentration in marriage and family.
Okay.
I am a board certified coach, life coach. And last but not least, I guess most recently, I'm a newly published author of
Yeah.
a book by the name of The Mary and Elizabeth Connection 31-Day Devotional, which I'll talk about a little later. So, yep, that's
Yes.
me.
Well, congratulations on all the things that you have going on that you have done.
Thank
Sounds pretty
you.
good. We thank you. That's amazing. And it's so good to be able to pursue your dreams and your goals and to see it now in fruition, helping people.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So you shared that you have a coaching business. What is your coaching business?
Sure. Well, the coaching business, I will say this, a lot of times when you see coaching, you'll probably see different types of coaches.
Hmm.
Uh, there's fitness coach, there's you'll see, I don't know, all different kinds of coaches. I've seen so many. But I offer life coaching services, but within the life coaching services, I do touch on various aspects of life. And that touches in relationships, executive coaching. So if I have a coaching client who owns a business, there's executive coaching,
Hmm.
like I said, relationship coaching, and then just overall life coaching when someone is just really focused on accomplishing goals, getting or setting goals, and trying to clear out that path to get those goals accomplished.
Hmm.
So that's what the coaching service is. Um, so that's what it's comprised of. That's what mainly takes place within the coaching.
What made you begin that service?
Well, it's kind of twofold. I feel like I've always had like this gift very naturally to listen,
Hmm.
coach, to advise, to counsel. Even when I was younger, and when I was asked what do I want to be when I grow up, I would say a child psychologist. So I always wanted to be in this area of helping people in counseling and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, And more specifically, when I was thinking about child psychology, I went to college and I got my bachelor's in psychology. And the plan was to return to really kind of see that thing all the way through. But the day after I graduated college, actually, I started working. Thanks to my mom, she got me a job where I'm sure my mom is watching. She got me a job at her job, and she was working at a program that was within mental health for children. Um,
Okay.
so I graduated on a Sunday. I started the next day on a Monday. And,
Yes.
yeah, I quickly learned that maybe that field wasn't for me with the children. In that capacity, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I really love children, I do, but in that aspect and mental health, um, it really didn't work out. They actually ended up closing the program. It closed like after 4 months. They laid me off, and I have never been laid off from a job, but that was the first and last one, and I had never been so happy. I
Mhm.
was eligible for unemployment. I was eligible for nothing, but I didn't care. I was very rough. It was
Okay.
very rough. And then I had got out of that field and went into something else. And then I went back just to check to make
Mm-hmm.
sure. And I think I was doing like truancy. I was a truancy officer and I was working with truant children and doing counseling and families and the children. And I was like, no, yeah, it's still not it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did discover is that, you know, it wasn't so much that I didn't like working with children. I was discovering that a lot of the issues were stemming from the home environment.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of shifted my focus from wanting to pursue like child psychology to really just working with the family dynamic overall, not just the children as individuals. So that's when when I finally decided to go back for a master's, I was pursuing a program in that with the families, with family counseling. And one of the classes that I had um, required me to get a certification and what's called Prepare Enrich. And it's like for preparing premarital couples and enriching married couples. It's an assessment that you give to these couples. And you, as a facilitator, you facilitate the results and just kind of help them navigate their growth areas. One night I was doing reading for the class, and I came across who are the people or the professionals that actually pursue this certification. And um, it was kind of in the midst of me finding out all the requirements to become a licensed counselor. And I think
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about that a little earlier, like this 300 hours of supervision and things like that. And I kind of gotten away from that because I'm like, I have to work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not going to be my path. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
pursue licensing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was coming off of the hills of making that decision. And then I was reading one night and I saw who actually uses this certification. And I came across this term, relationship coach.
Mm-hmm.
And it just stuck out to me. Something intrigued me about that term. And so I started researching it and found out what relationship coaching was and then overall coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hooked. And
Um,
right after I graduated, a few months after I graduated with my master's, I went to school to become a certified coach. So
okay.
that's why I started the business because it was really like that draw to just work with people on their goals. You know, there's with counseling, it's focusing more on the past, whereas coaching is focusing more on the future. It's with counseling and psychology, it's more like fixing individuals' problems, whereas coaching is helping to create solutions for the future. And I was just drawn more to that end of the process, that part of individuals' journeys, rather than the past. So that's why I started it. It was a combination of what I just had naturally and
Mm-hmm.
what I had, professionally and educational wise.
Very nice. I appreciate the process, you sharing the process and the journey of it, because a lot of times it's something we want to pursue and then we get in it. I was like, yes, this is amazing. You find out, not quite what I thought it was going to be. And you have to go through those phases to find out what is
Yep.
specific for you, what is beneficial for you.
Yep.
Because just because you want to be able to help people, you can hear people, you can listen to people, doesn't mean you might want to do it that way. Some people that are doing amazing a job doing hair. You think that this is school for counseling because they're like helping you through problems while you sitting there. Your hair wash, you're like, yeah, pass me a tissue too. Because you're getting that support. So really finding out what avenue works best for you and trying each door. And that's a part of soaring too, trying the door to see if it works for you.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing, like making the decision, having the courage to
Mm-hmm.
shift. Because sometimes we can be so stuck in our dreams and what we thought our path was supposed to be. Like, no, I said I was going to be this, so I'm going to be this. But
Yeah.
if you see that there's a need to shift and maybe, you held on to that thing so tightly, not realizing, no, that wasn't it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we can miss it. And
Mm.
so you have to be flexible. Sometimes we have to be flexible with our dreams and our aspirations because
Yes.
they can be developed out of something other than our purpose. They
Yeah.
can just be
Yeah.
developed out of experience, which is great. But if it doesn't align with our purpose,
Mm.
then it could be problematic. And then you would have spent a lot of money and wasted a lot of time
Come on.
doing
Come on.
something that you weren't supposed to do.
Yeah.
So you just got to make sure because, the passion definitely, I think, life experience, personal experience, things like that have definitely helped to shape my passion. But
Mm-hmm.
I think for some, they may do something because their parents wanted them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't come out of purpose. So you just want to make sure that that the experience, the passion, all that, everything aligns,
Yes.
so that you'll enjoy it and
Yes.
that it'll make sense.
Yes, that it will make sense.
Yeah.
That piece of the courage to shift, because another piece is sometimes you're gifted in so many different areas and you
Hmm.
stick with one, or you feel like, it was in a bloodline, so I need to do this. But again, you can still do it, but not maybe as your professional or your 9 to 5 or your main thing. You kind of do it as, moments come. But what your focus is, you want to make sure that that's what you're enjoying and loving to do, because they say best jobs are the ones that you could do without getting paid for it. We like to get paid for them, make that clear. However, um, it's those jobs because,
Yeah,
one, you go in there and you're excited to do it, no matter it come hell or high water. It's like, no, this is my mission to do it. We're going to figure this out. We're going to work this out, and help
absolutely.
you to be the best version of you. Hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good, good. So then I saw that SOAR was an acronym. Let's talk about that.
Yes. So, when I decided to start a coaching service, one of the things that I was doing, outside of just, researching paperwork and everything that I need to make in an LLC, things like that. Of course, I had to come up with a list of names.
Hmm.
And I was so intentional about coming up with a list of names. I really put thought into it. I thought some of them were really deep and
Hmm.
exciting. I'm like, yes, this is good. This is great.
Yes.
I was online making sure no one had these names. And then I ran it by my mother, this list of names, who I call my momager because that's what she thinks she is. My momager, she's on here. Um, and I was reading her these list of names, and I really didn't get a reaction. And
Mm.
all she said was, I think you should make it an acronym. But I'm like, did you hear all these names though? These are like really great names. And she's like, I think you should make it an acronym. So I thought about it and she was right.
Mhm.
Right. And so what I did was I took some time to really think about the words that were prevalent
Mm.
throughout the coaching training. And some of the words that were really prevalent throughout the coaching training was outcomes,
Okay.
achievements, of course, around goal setting. And so the word SOAR came to me, and it's like
Mhm.
the other two words fell into place, seeing and realized. And that's really how it came about. It wasn't supposed to be an acronym, but mom said making an acronym, and that's what I did.
We have some wisdom around us, friends. And sometimes
Absolutely.
we're like, no, but this list is great. Just being open to wisdom. If it's somebody that you trust and you went to them,
Hmm.
then we want to kind of be open to, not kind of, we want to be open to what it is that they're saying.
Yeah, definitely. And it actually, when I consider the work that I've done so far with the business, that name really truly speaks to my desire for the clients. I want to see them soar. I
Mhm.
want to see them see their outcomes realized. I want them to see their achievements realized, not just talk about them, not
Mhm.
just imagine them. So often we have these great ideas, but
Mhm.
all those ideas a lot of times just remain ideas. They're never
Mhm.
realized because we sometimes struggle with the contemplation to
Mhm.
completion aspect
Mhm.
of an idea.
Mhm.
So we have all this contemplation, but it never gets to completion.
Mhm.
So that's really what my focus was, getting people out of that contemplation stage and getting them to the completion stage,
Got it.
and seeing those outcomes and achievements actually realized instead of just talked about, because we
Mm.
can do a lot of talking.
Mm.
Uh, but it's getting it out there and completing things, is what's most important.
We can do a lot of talking. We are now in November, and there are some resolutions that some people have made in December of 2021. Is it January 2022, February, March, April,
Mhm.
May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and we are in November.
Yeah,
And some of those things we have not even worked on because
yeah,
we do a lot of talking. I mean, we all are guilty of it. It's some things that I said I want to do this year. I, that's a whole nother conversation for my own self. But for the majority of the things that I set out for the year, I did do it,
right.
finishing up on the end part of it. But that's the hope that we are working on those things that we said we wanted to do, and that we're linking up with people who can hold us accountable so
Hmm.
that we can see those outcomes realized, those achievements realized.
Right.
That's
And
the hope.
I think that, and I'm glad you said that, because I think that a lot of times we will start off a year, or maybe sometimes the middle of the year, with this
Mhm.
list, these resolutions that we
Yeah.
have. And I think one of the main things to do is to make sure these are realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Realistic resolutions, because if they're not, it sets us up for failure and disappointment, which affects other areas of our lives,
Yes.
and it's great to set resolutions. It's great to set these goals and things like that. But one of the things is you want to make sure they're realistic. It's not to say that they're impossible, but
Mm-hmm.
consider all.
Yes.
Consider your life.
Yes.
If you have to work 9 to 5, then if you're going to start a business, then consider what hours you realistically can put into that business.
Mm-hmm.
And if you cannot quit your job to pursue, your budding business, then those are things you have to consider. You can't say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna make it a plan to work 10 hours a day on my business," but you work 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be tired.
Yep.
And what energy can you really give? So I think even in that, it's like just good, really good to make realistic resolutions so that you are able to see, you're able to check things off your list. I love to do lists, and I love when I
Mm-hmm.
check stuff off. That's just me. And it's such a great feeling. But when you have the opposite effect, it has the opposite effect.
Right.
So yeah, just make sure we're realistic with those resolutions.
Mm. So, and I hate to do, sometimes we gotta break stuff down because in the February world we also talk about SMART goals, and
Yes,
one of that part is that realistic, and we get stuck
right,
on that part.
yes.
We can make it measurable, we can make it
Mhm.
attainable, um, but that realistic. Let's break down what realistic really means.
Sure. Um, I think one of the most important things, because sometimes when you hear realistic, sometimes people get afraid of the word realistic because it kind of makes them feel like, okay, if I'm thinking of realistic, then that means that maybe I won't be able to do it. So
Hmm.
that's not what realistic is. Realistic is taking a step back and saying, okay, this is my goal. Okay. Now, what are the things that I need to accomplish this goal? Let's say, for instance, it's money,
Hmm.
a lot of money. If you don't have a lot of money, then it's not to say that you can't accomplish that goal. Let's look at your resources.
Hmm.
What are the resources? It will require work. And, being realistic about, something does require work because you have to do research. Be realistic and do your research because if you don't have the money, then research how you can get it. There are loans for small businesses. There are scholarships for education. It takes research sometimes. It takes work that you have to put in. It takes doing cold calls, having conversations with individuals. It takes maybe 2 hours on websites, googling things, but it's not to say that it can't happen. It's just sometimes you have to break it down in smaller chunks. So if I want to do this, I don't have this to get it done. How do I obtain this? First, start with a phone call. First, start with researching on a website, those kinds of things. So that's really the breakdown of realistic, assessing what you have in your hands and then doing the work to discover how to obtain the resources you don't have. And it's the work where I think people also get stuck.
Mm.
Sometimes we get a little lazy, and it's hard, but if you want it, yes, you will definitely have to put in the work.
I don't even think that is intentional laziness. I think sometimes some of the goals that we may set for ourselves,
Mhm.
it takes more than we thought it would.
Of course.
It requires a bigger sacrifice than we were willing
Of
to
course.
give. The main one a lot of people use is they want to like get fit and things of that sort. You
Of
mean
course.
I can't have
Of course.
my fried foods? Like how long can I not have my fried foods? I can't have a starch, or I can have starch, but not too many starch. The
Yeah.
holiday just coming, Jennifer. It's about to be Thanksgiving, and I get that. But whatever your greater causes for you to have to do that sacrifice for that moment in time. And then once you get your results, you'll be like, oh, okay. But we give up too quick before we get to see those results. And that's why I'm saying that to cut it. Sometimes we cut things off or we give up on things
Sure.
too soon.
Yeah, but it is, and you're absolutely right. It's not always intentional laziness. Absolutely not. It does require, I think, when you're looking at such as what you mentioned about getting fit, maybe you don't give up fried foods right away, or maybe just cut down on them. See, for some, you can't just go cold turkey. If you were eating fried chicken every day and you're like, I'm going to just stop eating fried chicken every day, that's not going to work. You're going to end up stop eating fried chicken for a day.
Right.
and then end up overdosing on Popeyes like the next day, right? So it's really, even in that, it might require, how do you wing yourself off? Like breaking it down. Sometimes we just kind of jump out there and we have like, okay, I'm just gonna stop. When
Hmm.
we're gonna, especially with fitness, I'm just gonna stop eating this, or I'm just gonna reduce my calories. Well,
Yes.
no, maybe you need to reduce them bit by bit.
Hmm.
So it's really, they have this saying. It's a weird saying, but it's like, how do you eat an elephant? You know how you eat an elephant, right? It's like, what is it? Piece by piece, I think
Yeah.
it is. Something like that. And sometimes you really just have to break everything down by piece. You may not be able to start as big as you thought, but you can start off bit by bit and then slowly see results. Sometimes we want results too fast, or these, immediate results. We're not always going to get immediate results. Sometimes it's going to take a while before we see the results of our work and of our labor and of our intention.
Hmm. Sometimes it's going to take a while.
It's going to take a while.
And and friends, we have to be encouraged to keep on in the midst of it, because it won't happen overnight. I always tell people, some of the things that we do, we didn't learn it just yesterday. These things are ingrained in us. So like, this is how it's supposed to go. This is how it's supposed to be. Um, Even if it's like something to how you clean your house, right? Growing up, you gotta have your old jams on. It gotta be Saturday morning, it gotta be blessed, and you gotta start here to go through there. But it is possible we can maybe start in a different room the next time,
Mhm.
or I can have a different style of music playing. It doesn't have to be. So knowing that, long as it gets done, long as you're starting somewhere,
Yep, absolutely.
digging towards your goal.
Absolutely.
Mm. What is the most rewarding? What's most rewarding about the services that you provide and the clients that you service?
I would say, well, there are a couple of things that I've discovered when I'm doing coaching, and so sometimes I always say that I'm switching hats, with depending on what type of coaching the client requires. And so I noticed that I love relationship coaching. When we switch to relationship coaching, one thing I'll say about relationship coaching is that it doesn't require two or more individuals. An individual can come to relation coaching as an individual. They may be having issues or struggling to maintain healthy relationships, which can sometimes affect their overall life. They may need coaching on how to navigate various challenges in different relationships, whether it be with a spouse, a partner, a
Mhm.
family member, a parent, a sibling, a coworker, or whatever. So I think for me, one of the most rewarding things is that when I've done relationship coaching and I've had those clients come back to me and say, hey, the tools that we discussed during the relationship coaching aspect of our session really worked. Like I
Mhm.
see improvement in this
Mhm.
relationship, or I see improvement on how I respond in a relationship. That's rewarding because relationships can affect almost every area of our lives
Right.
if they're not healthy.
Mhm.
So that's rewarding to me to hear that, that somebody's improving in that. And then, of course, um, around the goal setting, life coaching around the goal setting, that's also rewarding for me, especially when a client comes back and says, they were able to accomplish a goal
Mhm.
that we were working on, helping people to unlock like the potential they didn't realize that they had. It's that
Mhm.
for me,
Mhm. Mhm.
where they come to those aha moments because they're doing all the work.
Right. Right.
Coaches aren't supposed to tell you what to do. Coaches aren't supposed to share their personal experiences. They're just supposed to have the conversations with you, ask critical questions to get
Yes.
you to think, and then you develop the path. And then as a coach, that's exactly what you're there doing, coaching them on,
Right.
partnering with them, pushing them, praising them, and just making sure and holding them accountable that they're doing what they have the tools to do.
Mhm.
So it's just seeing those goals accomplished, whether big or small, and it's also seeing improvement in relationships. That is very rewarding for me.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing, because we're going to, as shared, we're coming into the holiday seasons, and we're about to see cousin sunshine that really messed us up, or like hurt our feelings, or like doesn't come around unless they need something, things of that sort.
Mhm,
What are some supports we could have as we go into this holiday season, and we're going to encounter some people
mhm,
that kind of doesn't that messes up our vibes?
right. Well, I think.
And the other
Mhm.
side is, what if I'm the one that's messing up the vibe and I don't know it? How can I get help too? What's some words of wisdom for me?
Sure, absolutely. Well, let's talk about the ones that are coming around those who are messing up vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say one of the first things you want to do is to really just take some time before you go into that environment. Make sure you do some self care. Whether that's breathing exercises, whether that's, getting a massage, whatever it is, just make sure you've done what you needed to do to self care. So
Yes.
you're not going into an environment tense. Another thing you want to do is you want to put away the what it's going to be like, because in our minds we're already creating tension and anxiety because we are perceiving what it's going to already be like, and we it may not be that way. Now it may,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it may not. And so, we won't know until we get there. And I think a lot of times that tension within us builds. We start to feel it physically in our chest and everywhere, our neck and everything like that, because we're already creating scenarios that haven't happened yet.
Mm.
So put away the scenarios that you think are going to happen because you don't
Yeah.
know. Sometimes you don't know. You may know your family so well. You're like, no, Lynelle, I know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just throwing that out there,
Yes.
as a tip.
Yes.
So self-care, try to eliminate that thinking and rethinking about what it's going to be and how horrible it's going to be. If you're a believer, if you're spiritual, I would say, of course, pray. Pray, read your word. And also, I would say, know when it's time to go.
Mm.
Know when it's time to go. No one will, you know, tell you that probably. You have to take care of you. We are to guard our hearts and our minds,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so it's important that we know when it's time to roll,
Mm-hmm.
or when it's time to shift our interaction with certain
Mm-hmm.
people. If it's a person, not engage in certain conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very important. So I think that just kind of being aware of when you feel unsafe, when you feel like mentally you're going somewhere, emotionally you're going somewhere, but you don't want to leave without your food. So try to stick it out. But you got to try to avoid these people until at least till you eat and you make your plate.
Now we talking about our community, and sometimes we said dinner was gonna be ready at 5, and it wasn't ready till 8.
So you get there around 7:30. And I'm just kidding. But no, I like, in all seriousness, I would say just try to do the work. I would say just self-care prior to going. Try not to think about how it's going to be, because you're creating that anxiety in your body. You're going to create all this tension in your mind. You're going to create all this tension, and then also know when it may be time to cut the interaction.
Yeah.
I would say if you are that person, it's kind of hard because sometimes we don't know we're that person.
Mm-hmm.
I would say read the room. If everyone is like avoiding you, or
Yes.
is actually telling you that it's you, then it's you.
Yeah.
And sometimes that may mean just also stepping away, taking a break, breathing,
Mm-hmm.
doing some exercises. It's not something that's going to be solved in that moment because it's
Right.
bigger. It's
Mm-hmm.
bigger. And unfortunately, around this time of year when we have these interactions with family, especially if we have, I would say, dysfunctional family dynamics, there are a lot of triggers that are developed out of trauma.
Mm.
So, because triggers are mostly developed out of trauma.
Yes.
So, going around these certain, scenarios,
Yes.
and family members, there could be a lot of triggers. And so, there has to be a way that you work out, or you develop how you respond.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a larger aspect of work. So I would say if you are that person, read the room. If
Mm-hmm.
everybody telling you it's you, then it's you.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe you just don't say anything. You
Yep.
just eat your turkey and your stuffing, and and then
Mhm.
consider after that maybe talking to someone.
Maybe consider.
I'm an advocate for Jesus in therapy. That's
Yes.
like Jesus
Yes.
in therapy.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yes, absolutely.
So, friends, even if you don't know that you're the one, or you think that you're the one, or you just want to make sure you're not the one, again, read the room.
Read the
You
room.
can tell from other people if they like shying away, or they don't want to talk to you no more, or they're like, oh my gosh. And I don't think people read the room enough.
I don't think people read the room enough either. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But again, I love the first part of it too, of really knowing yourself. And that's what really emotional intelligence is. If you're aware of what your feelings are, how your mood is. If I'm upset and angry, I might not go around people that's like a little chipper because I'm not ready to be chipper right now. I need to process why I'm upset, why I'm angry, like what's the root of that. Um, so knowing what atmospheres you can be around. If you got somebody and you have to be somewhere and they're a morning person, I didn't have my coffee yet, or whatever it is. I don't drink coffee, but whatever it is that you need to get your stuff going, get that together before then coming around that person,
yeah,
so that you can have your self care together. Whatever that breathing is, whatever that activity is,
yeah,
having a game on your phone to distract yourself
yeah,
to help you get through that moment. And that's not just for the family holidays. That's anywhere you go. Uh,
absolutely.
so that you can survive. Because some of us work at some places maybe that's of concern. So knowing how much you can take. My favorite word now is capacity. I don't have the capacity for that today.
Yep,
I don't have the capacity for that. So knowing what helps your tank to stay full, where it's flowing and doing good. But if it's causing a deficit, then we want to do something about that.
yeah. It's that big word, boundaries.
Yeah.
And that we throw around, but we don't always embrace. Like we don't, really embrace it like we should. And I think boundaries are so important. And it's okay to set boundaries with anyone in our lives. It doesn't take anything away from them. But if it's something that's hurting us, then we
Mm-hmm.
need to learn how to create boundaries that, don't hurt the relationship, but only help it. Because if I don't have this boundary, ultimately it will hurt because I might snap, or something like that, something crazy. So you want to make sure that you are the only person that knows what your boundaries are supposed to look like because they're personal. But embracing your boundaries, setting your boundaries is so important. I can't stress that enough.
And those that are around you, if they know you, you don't know when it's like, all right, let me leave her alone. Let me leave him alone. Because they know you. They know what ticks you, what can cause you to be upset and things. But then there's some they don't know. And it's helpful if you let them know, right now is not really a good time.
Absolutely.
Because even with your children, sometimes your children just bounce it up. Johnny, sit down. And Johnny don't get it. Johnny, I said sit down. It's not a good time. Mommy has a headache. You're communicating what's going on. Because if Johnny don't sit still because you got that headache, you might then respond in a way that you don't want to respond in. Mamas used to say it's gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you. So again, we want to be able to be aware of what's going on. Because if not, we will go off.
Yeah. You bring up a good point. Communicate that this bothers me.
Mm-hmm,
And if because otherwise people don't know, and sometimes we just hold people hostage and we
mm-hmm,
just blame them for this, like they should have known. But how do they know unless they know, right? And so you sometimes you have to actually verbalize what
mm-hmm,
it is that is a limit for you,
mm-hmm.
that is outside of your, like you said, your capacity, or passes your boundary. So communication is definitely important. With those who are definitely closest to you, let them know, I can't, I won't, I don't.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And you got to speak up for yourself because if not, they're going to keep on doing it. And you're like, oh my gosh, they don't listen. Did you tell them?
Did you tell them?
And if you
Communication.
did tell them, did you show them? No, really, you can't do that. That doesn't work for me. That's not how this relationship is going to be able to be successful. You know, and we're talking about family relationships, but I'm not going to hold y'all on these romantic relationships either. Sometimes we get in these situations and we're not communicating our needs and wants and things of that sort, and then we're like, what? About to say I do. It's like, what's going on? Do I really know this person? Do they really know me? And I think a big piece I always advocate also for premarital counseling. It doesn't get into everything, but it gets into enough to get some conversations going that sometimes people don't talk about in relationships. But really, communication styles. What best works for you? If you come home from work, it's like we need to talk. A lot of people don't like to hear we need to talk because they already go right to, oh my gosh, it's about to be something crazy. What did I do? Oh, I said that wrong. Whatever thoughts, and that can mess you up. But just being open to know that maybe it's not something bad, it's just we need to talk. But if we need to talk is a trigger for you or it causes you to get anxiety, and they said we need to talk at 8 a.m. and it's now 8:49 and they still didn't call you, come see you, you're like going through, like, what's going on? Where are they? You want to communicate that. I prefer you say, can we talk about X, Y, and Z? Or
Absolutely.
I want to know your thoughts on something. I'll, check in with you later. Because it takes off the pressure of, oh my gosh, what did I do? Where are they at? When they gonna call me? And it can mess up the whole day because you study thinking of what the conversation is gonna be. And then God forbid they come in at 8:50 and be like, oh yeah, I just wanted to know if you thought I should get these shoes or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I gotta give you an uppercut because you don't have me stressing all day. You want to know if I should get these shoes or not. You could have sent me a text with that. So again, communicate what works best for you.
The communication piece, I cannot stress enough. I think there used to be these statistics on how, like, number one reason for divorce was finances and infidelity, things like that. But it's actually not that. Number one reason for divorce and the ending of marriages and things like that right now is around communication. It may be finances, but it's around the lack of communication around finances. It all stems from communication and how you
Yes.
communicate. And
Yes.
unfortunately, depending on how we were taught to listen and communicate,
Come on.
that can
Mm-hmm.
also be a trigger or very stressful on the relationship, on how we communicate with each other, especially because our communication styles basically are developed from our environment.
Yes.
Whether it's talking loud or talking softly or being passive, all that
Yes.
stems from what we were around. And
Yes.
so if you have two people, especially who have two different communication styles, it could be really difficult to navigate. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times, especially during conflict, individuals will not listen. They are listening to hear how they can respond.
Mm-hmm.
They're gaining information to develop their defense.
Mm-hmm.
Not listening to the person. So the person's talking,
Yep.
and once the person's done, instead of saying, okay, wow, I hear you. I didn't even know you felt that way. They get defensive, and then
Mm-hmm.
they come back with their defense. So that listening piece is very important. We need to listen. Um, we need to listen with more than just our ears. We need to listen with our heart and our emotions to really hear what someone is saying. Because when you're in a relationship, communication sometimes can be very stressful
Mm-hmm.
within conflict,
Mm-hmm.
and if not handled right, yeah, those triggers, it will develop triggers. So you want
Yeah.
to make sure that you're creating a safe space
Yes.
for each other to communicate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Friends. Again, all types of relationships, communication is really important. And being careful of the texting as well, because sometimes you could text it and it can see it wrong. Sometimes your tone, sometimes you need somebody to be a buffer. Because like you'll hear something be like, wait a minute, what? And that's not even how they meant it.
Yeah,
Um,
some things
so be
should,
mindful of that.
yeah, yeah.
Because
Some things should not be text,
yeah,
be sent through text.
yes.
I would say any serious communication, especially if you're trying to resolve, and like you said, any relationship, if you're trying
Mhm.
to resolve something or bring up something that happened, do not text it.
Yeah.
I would even say try to meet this person in person,
Yeah.
rather than even talk on the phone. Because a lot of times, even on the phone, things can be lost in translation. You can't
Mhm.
see facial expressions, things like that. You may think somebody's insincere, and
Mhm.
they really are sincere. If you look in someone's eyes, you can tell they're sincere most times.
I
So,
ain't gonna hold you.
I,
Sometimes you could be right in their face and they lying to your face. You like,
well, it's the body language, and so
the
and
nose is going out. That nose.
at least you know, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
at least you'll be able to read like their body language, but sometimes it's hard to do if you're not in person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When should somebody pursue coaching services?
I would say when they are ready to experience change, and start accomplishing goals. If they find that they are going around in circles
Mm-hmm.
trying to accomplish something, if they're struggling with moving from that contemplation to completion that I was talking about, if they have a vision but they don't really have a plan for that
Mm-hmm.
vision to come to pass,
Yeah.
if they're having difficulty navigating relationships, with various relationships, whether with family members, friends, coworkers, whoever, I would say it's probably time
Mm-hmm.
to pursue coaching. But one of the first things you learn when you're going through coaching training is, the assumption is when you work with a coaching client is that that client comes to you whole.
Mm-hmm.
That client comes to you with the tools that they need, or those innate tools that they need to be successful
Mm-hmm.
in the pursuit of their goals and overall like life improvement. An ideal coaching client is motivated, they're determined to take action on their determined personal and professional goals. They realize that they got to give their full attention to this process. They accept responsibilities for themselves and for their actions. So when someone is in that place, I would say they're ready. Even though they're struggling,
Mm-hmm.
if they have those tools, if they have that mindset, they would really more than likely see success
Yeah.
in the coaching relationship. So I strongly, I would say, I would say that that's probably a good indicator to
Mm-hmm.
pursue coaching services. But on the opposite side of that, and I just want to touch on this just a little bit because sometimes there's some confusion, and I notice even when I've worked with coaching clients, I strongly suggest that one assess whether they're in need of counseling or coaching before they start coaching, because some coaches will take your money
Mm-hmm.
knowing that you are in need of counseling, and they will continue to coach you and take your money, and you will see no results because you're not whole.
Mm-hmm.
And so because you're not whole, you're not seeing those results because there are other things going on, and so it's counterproductive.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say assess if you need counseling or coaching first, because if you find yourself struggling and you're going through these cycles, it could be just that you haven't activated those tools that you have inside of you,
Right.
or it could be a result of something else deeper, something else going on. And unlike counseling and coaching, we're not supposed to deal with feelings. We're not supposed to do a deep dive into the past or deep dive into feelings. When strong feelings come up, when somebody becomes emotional, we use that as a guide into the future. We don't
Mm-hmm.
use that as a guide into the past. And so in coaching, the starting place is where you are going, not where you've been.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you're on that journey of pursuing your dreams and trying to make it happen, you will experience some not so great moments. And you have to make sure that, these triggers don't hinder your progress, because, there's going to be times where you'll see failures. And if you've always been told you're going to be a failure, then that trigger is going to keep you from moving forward. Um, if you find if you find that you're experiencing more triggers and you're responding to those triggers in a more negative way, it's probably an indication you might need counseling first,
Mm-hmm.
to deal with that, to deal with the trauma, to deal with those triggers, um, because more than likely you won't be able to be successful. You'll keep running in the cycle, or
Mm-hmm.
cycling through the same issues. Um, yeah. So you want to make sure you get help so you know how
Yeah.
to respond to those triggers, because there are some triggers that are going to stay with us.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, unfortunately, they are, and so we have to be sure we're in a place that we respond properly, because in this world of trying to get it done and make it happen and be successful, um, yeah, there's going to be some things that we experience. And if we're
Mm-hmm.
not whole,
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to handle them well. And it might almost end up taking us backwards rather than forward. So I would say just make sure, you're ready, you're whole, you're ready, you're motivated, you're focused. That's when you're ready. You're just struggling, but you still have the determination and you still have the tools
Mm-hmm.
to get it done.
So good, friends. Over here at Gen Cares, we work to normalize mental health, mental healing. Um, so if you feel like there are some things that are causing you to not be able to go forward because of some things that's happened some years ago, that happened yesterday, definitely do encourage that you reach out for counseling. Always sharing how it's the most underutilized service, EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, right through your job with your benefits, where you can talk to a professional about what's going on. And I promise you, being able to talk about your stuff for 20 minutes uninterrupted is like one of the greatest things ever. Because with your friends, they want to cut you off so they can tell you, no, but you got to hear about what John did now. And sometimes you're like, no, I just need to really talk about how I'm really sad and I'm going through, or this
Mhm.
grief is kicking my butt. The holidays are coming. Check on your friends that
Yep.
have lost loved ones. They need somebody like to show them, hey, I love you. I'm thinking of you. So being mindful and aware of, again, how our feelings are, because those things can be blocking us from going forward. If they said, again, you're never going to be nothing, you could think that. or you heard that about your dad, or you heard that about your mama or a grandmama or whoever, and you took that on as true for you, and that's not true for you.
Yeah.
Being able to talk to somebody to work through that is beneficial, and then you get that coaching of, all right, where do I go from here? Now I'm ready, to pursue this goal, to tackle this goal, to soar. So friends, if you need to talk to somebody, let me know. I'll connect you with some people because, again, the hope is that you can process through your feelings and emotions so that you don't get a coach that's taking your money. Lynelle's not going to do that to you, though.
Well, yeah, because I do an assessment, all this other stuff. So I'm like, I definitely make sure that, you know,
And
coaching
it's
is
important too, who you're going to make sure they're doing assessment. You feel like you're getting your money's worth. If I was talking to someone, and sometimes you feel like they was like a homegirl, not supposed to feel like a homegirl. It is a professional relationship. You are paying them to listen to all of your stories and things of that sort, but you're also paying them to be able to support you through processing all those things that are going on.
absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely.
So our theme is grateful, thankful, blessed. What are some things that you're grateful, thankful, blessed for?
Um, well, I think right now, especially more recently, and I just mentioned this earlier when we first started talking, I am grateful, I am thankful, and what I consider to be a blessing is my new book.
Yes.
And the reason why I say that is that it's like I said, it's called the Mary and Elizabeth Connection 31 Day Devotional. And the reason why I say that I'm grateful, thankful, and consider it to be a blessing is that writing this devotional really took me on a journey that was filled with a lot of ups and downs, a lot of highs and lows. But ultimately, it was completed. Thank God. But writing a book was something I was very fearful of. Even this type of book. And I talked myself in and out of it many times. I went through so many different emotions. I thought about, what if nobody buys it? What if nobody gets it? What if it doesn't make sense? I struggled with those insecurities. And, it wasn't until I really started living the purpose of my book, especially through a peer group that I started called the Mary and Elizabeth Connection, that I realized I needed to push those insecurities to the side. Whether it was for 1 or 1 million, I needed to push those to the side because my purpose was just to get it out. And I think I mentioned this earlier, and not focus on the who won'ts, but the who wills, if that makes sense. So that was just real. I was really grateful for that process and thankful that I didn't give up, that I trusted God to give me what I needed to get it done. Um, it's a blessing because I'm blessed by the feedback and the testimonies of those who have read it, and who are reading it, to know that they are feeling inspired and encouraged. Blesses me because it lets me know that the book is doing exactly what it was purposed to do. So I'm really grateful for that because I did not see this. I did not think that I could write a book or I would even get this done. But I'm grateful because I'm encouraged now. I'm like, okay, well, I got this one out. Maybe I could do another one.
Yes.
And so it was just really getting past that hump. I thank God for the journey because it boosted my faith.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful for everyone who supported the book, but I'm grateful for the journey of it because it taught me so much about myself, but it also helped me to grow. And so I'm just really thankful for that journey and grateful for it.
And in a summary, what was it about the Mary and Elizabeth connection that said this needs to be a devotional? This could help somebody beyond what?
Sure. Well, I guess, well, I'll say this. The reason why it was called Mary and Elizabeth devotional, it comes from the story of the Bible, of course, when Mary visited
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth when they were pregnant. They were both pregnant with their sons.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible tells us in Luke chapter 1, there's a story of how when Mary visited Elizabeth, um, at the sound of Mary's greeting to Elizabeth, John the Baptist leaped within Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. And then Elizabeth turned to Mary and she spoke a blessing and a word of encouragement over her. And it was just such an amazing moment between these two women because the devotional is for women.
Mm-hmm.
It was such an amazing moment between these two women because imagine the life that they gave to each other. Imagine the inspiration that they were able to give each other. Imagine the encouragement that they
Yeah.
were able to give to each other during a time that was supposed to be joyous. It was a joyous time, but it
Mm-hmm.
was also filled with some challenges.
Yeah.
Here it was Zechariah, Elizabeth's husband. He couldn't speak. He was mute until
Mhm.
John the Baptist was born. So she's going through this pregnancy because her husband can't speak because he doubted when he was told, when he was visited by Gabriel. He doubted. He said, "We're too old." And the angel's like, "You're not going to speak until the baby gets here." So
Mhm.
she's going through this pregnancy with a husband that can't speak. You have Mary, that's unique in itself of her conception, but then, her partner, Joseph, she's going through this emotional roller coaster because his first response was to break the engagement. So he broke
Mhm.
off the engagement. Then he had
Uh-huh.
the invitation and then he married her. So,
Yes.
all these different things that was going on in their lives, they were able to connect in this experience and encourage each other through the
Yes.
challenges that they were facing, these unique challenges.
Mhm.
Because all while having this responsibility of carrying or bringing into the world men who were slated to change mankind for the most part. And so this devotional is unique because it's not for women. It's not for the woman who purchases it.
Mhm.
What she's supposed to do is she's supposed to purchase it, she's supposed to sign it, and then give it to another woman.
Very
And so
nice.
as this woman reads these pages, she's being encouraged through these words, just like that connection, just like that encounter through Mary and Elizabeth. So that's why it was so important because I found, going through different life challenges and experiences, there was, of course, we go through these times where we feel like we're the only ones.
Mhm.
And that's one of the reasons why I started the peer group Mary and Elizabeth Connection, because it's good to have other people to connect with around your experiences, to get encouragement, to
Yeah.
build each other up, to encourage each other, and then to see each other through, not just the lows, but the highs, and encourage each other around your goals and encourage each other around your promises while you're carrying your promises until
Yes.
it gets there. So
Mhm.
that's why it was so important for me to do this devotional and to get it out there.
Very nice. Not for you, but to encourage somebody else. So
Absolutely. So
powerful.
that was my that's what I loved about how God gave it to me. I was like, because there's so many different devotionals. And I'm
Mhm.
like, well, I wanted it to be unique. So it's a gift. It's a gift devotional. It's not supposed to be for you.
Mhm.
But once you get it, you're supposed to pass it on.
Yes. Very nice. Very nice. Awesome. Congratulations. I'm excited to hear of the next ones that will be coming out.
Well, we'll see. Well, I'm a girl. Like I said, I got through this one, so I'm like, I did it. So maybe,
You got to
I
soar.
started. We have to soar.
We
I
have to soar.
started the process. So yeah,
Ah.
definitely.
What is something that you want our viewers and listeners to walk away with?
I would just say that no matter what stage you are in your life, no matter what you are, what you're pursuing, whatever it is, whatever goals or whatever dreams that you have, one of the things I will say is don't give up. And it may sound very generic, but I think a lot of times we get so defeated with what goes on in our head first. And I would say get out of your head and get into the reality of things. A lot of times we will put stuff down because we're in our head. And I
Mhm.
would say if you have an idea, if you have a goal, if you have a dream, if you have something that you've been wanting to do, but you put it down because you got in your head or you gave up or you thought you were too old or you thought you were too young or you thought you didn't have the resources, pick it back up
Mhm.
and know that if this is for you, God is going to give you what you need, but you have to pick it back up and you have to start somewhere. You
Yes.
can't just have an idea on paper. You got to, take it off of paper. You've got to do a checklist. You got to say, okay, what is one thing I can do to actually start to move towards this thing? So
Mhm.
I would say don't give up. Start small. If you have to start small, but take a step. The first thing you need to do is just to start. And as small as that might be, sometimes we're just so afraid to start.
Mhm.
Um, for me to write a book, it took me just to get in front of my laptop and start writing day one.
Mhm.
And day one was there for a while. I wrote the book over 2 years ago. I just released it. I think in the end of September. But you start with day one, and
Mhm.
you start at the first step, and then be fair to yourself. I also want to say that be fair to yourself. Know that you are human.
Mhm.
You are not superhuman. So a lot of times when we're trying to go after goals and we're trying to pursue things, we take on more than we should.
Mm.
And it can affect us in so many ways. So you want to, that goes back to that piece about being realistic. So just be fair to yourself. If you don't get it right, if you mess up, if you fail, it's okay because you're not perfect. But the point is just to get back up, pick it back up, and keep pushing, keep going, figure it out, pivot, shift, and figure out another way. And it'll come to you. You'll have it, but it just takes your determination not to give up, and to see it through.
Yes. Yes. Mm.
Absolutely.
So good. Yes. Thank you so much. And special thanks to this chosen friend right here because she, made the connection for
Yeah.
me.
Hi, Aunt Sandra.
Yeah. So thank you so very much. Because, yes, it is not easy. But if you just take that first
Absolutely.
step. Miss
Absolutely.
Evelyn said, great word. Yes. She got some wisdom
Absolutely.
here. So, friends, be sure to connect with the amazing Coach Nell. Lynelle, so that you can get some coaching services if you are in need of coaching services. But at least get the assessment too, because then you find out, do I need therapy first, or can I go ahead and get some support with what my future is looking like? And then some people's like the past is the past; it's gonna be what it is. But what can I do about tomorrow? If you got that mindset too, you're ready for it as well. So being able to support with that and whatever it is that you're trying to do, to most importantly, soar.
Absolutely.
Soar, jump, take
Absolutely.
that leap of faith. You'd be surprised. And
Absolutely.
again, put on your life jacket if need be. Make sure you got your what's it called when they go bungee jump? Yeah, what's it called? The thing, parachute. Put your parachute on.
Yes.
Yeah? If you're jumping in the water, put that thing on. If you don't know how to swim, please put on the life jacket. Please, please.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I gotta do these disclaimers sometimes because yes, friends, I don't want you to jump in the water. You can't swim because you're gonna write on the paper. Jen said no. Jen didn't say that. If you can't swim,
Please don't do that.
put a life jacket on.
Absolutely.
Go with professionals if you jumping out the plane. Get the buddy system where you with the person and you go down and things that sort. But again, whatever it is, go ahead and soar. Believe in yourself. We believe in you. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much for tuning in. She said, I'm happy I tuned in. I'll take a lot with me tonight. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, as always, Nicole, for tuning in. Great information. Thank you, ladies. Also, special thanks to my mama Wanda who tuned in. Hey, Mama Wanda. So good to see you virtually tonight. And to everybody that tuned in, thank you so much. This was really great. I hope that you enjoyed yourself with tonight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank
Yes.
you so much for having me.
Yes, we're always just trying to share some good information with the people. And because we specialize in bringing the community to you. So friends that tuned in, be sure to follow. And even if you're not ready for coaching services, kind of just really checking in, seeing the posts that are coming out, because they can encourage you and inspire you as you keep on going. Because that's what, coaches and therapists do. I mean, they have a life too where they, posting, I don't want to say ratchet stuff, but they posting some life stuff, but they're also posting some things of value that can encourage and strengthen you. So follow the business page, okay? Follow the business page. But I thank you so much all for tuning in, and may you have a great, great evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night. Oh, friends, that was amazing. I hope that you really enjoyed SOAR, period, okay? Because there are some things we want to do, and we can do them. We have to take that first step. Day one. She said it was over 2 years, writing that book. That's a process too. But again, you write it down and then you go back to it, then you write some more, then you go back to it. You might delete a little bit and add a little bit more. But friends, it's a process. But believe in yourself. When it is time, it will come to pass. Don't forget our quote of the day: jump, and you will find out how to unfold your wings as you fall. But friends, you first have to jump. So I hope that that was encouraging to you. Friends, I ain't gonna hold you. I did bad again. I have no idea what December's gonna look like. It's supposed to be 2 episodes, for sure. But we're stopping today for November series because we want you to have an amazing holiday with your families. Be sure to be in tune with your self-care, your needs to be able to support others. Okay. Also want to share a couple of things. As shared, the lovely chosen friend Sandra, who was a guest also earlier this year, connected me with Lynelle. But if you have a guest suggestion or a topic of discussion that you would like to suggest, be sure to email us at info@chosencounselors.com. We are always interested in meeting new friends and sharing about what it is they're doing in the community. So you can suggest a guest or topic of discussion by emailing us at info@chosencounselors.com. Friends, I'm gonna tell you something else. So in this soaring thing, I'm also soaring, right? And when I tell you that it is hard. It is hard sometimes to pursue your dreams, but when it is on your heart to do something, you want to go forth and do that. And with that being said, I have chosen for this planner and journal. Yes, it is a 6x9, 240 pages colored planner. It has some monthly motivation, inspirational quotes, a budget tracker, a self-care awareness piece, journaling, and more. Pre-orders will begin on December 1st. I am so excited. The purpose of this is to let you know that you are chosen for this period. Whatever it is that you are pursuing in life, you are chosen to do it. And I want to encourage each and every one of my friends. I have been overwhelmed with the process and blessed at the same time. I have friends talking about, oh, we're buying this as Christmas gifts. I was like, oh, okay. She's like, no, I need like 5. Can I send you the money? And I'm like, okay, all right, God, what you doing? And I'm just overwhelmed and excited for how it's already blessing people. Special thanks to my amazing crew who supported me and make sure that all the edits was right. I tell you, I went back and forth with the printer 11 million times before it got together, but I'm so grateful. So friends, on December 1st, I will release the site for it. All the imaging is done, but we're going to be sharing Chosen for this planner and journal. So y'all stay tuned. We got some good things coming. I'm really excited for that project. I'm grateful that it's going to be off my chest. I'm kind of with Lynelle as well. Like, is it going to be another one? We just grateful we got through that first one. Okay. But I love you all for real. I will be back in December. We're going to have 2 episodes in December. But may you have an amazing Thanksgiving. May you remember that life is worth living. May you be grateful, period, for the amazing things that are happening that don't have to happen to you. May you be thankful, period, for life, health, and strength, a roof over your head, food to eat, clothes on your back. It's the simple little things, okay? And may you be blessed, period, knowing that you were chosen for such a time as this. You are here for a reason. Encourage somebody, love on somebody, and let them know that they can make it. I love you all for real. Until next time, good night.
Friends, we thank you for joining Jen Cares this week. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Unable to watch us live? Be sure to find us on your favorite podcast platform. You can also visit our website, chosencounselors.com. That's chosen with a Z, so that you can stay in the know and most of all, never miss a show. If you found value in this episode, we'd appreciate you sharing it with a friend. Most of all, be sure to tune in for our next episode next Monday at 8 p.m. right here as we specialize in bringing the community to you.